Okay, hey everybody. Welcome once again to another paint judging video for our painting competition. I'm here with Jay today. Hi, Jay.
How's it going, bro? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very good.
Good.
So thanks again for joining us. Of course, for everybody who doesn't know,
My
Jay.
pleasure.
Yeah. Jay is from Mohawk Miniatures. He's on Twitch and he makes great and awesome painting tutorials or painting streams, or both. A really nice atmosphere if you want to hang out and get your painting done and watch somebody paint miniatures in an awesome way. So we're very happy to have you here judging these painting submissions for our latest competitions. If
I'm
there's
going to clip that introduction of me and use that as an intro to my show from now on. I think that's better than anything I came up with. So
Okay, well, you can definitely use that. Feel free to hire me and do it again and again. I would gladly do it for you. Okay, well, let's just jump right into it. So we've got our painting competitions over on Discord. If you want to join, by the way, check out our Discord. I'll put a link in the description of this YouTube video. It's going on YouTube, by the way. So yeah, you can join there. Go to the painting submission topic, say you want to enter, and basically, boom, you're done. You're painting along. We've got quite a nice group of painters joining on the regular, and then every now and again somebody new joins, and we're very happy with that. Let's get the painting going, I say. And this time around, the painting competition was called Think Outside of the Box. And with this one, the theme generally was something that could hold its own in close combat, but conversion was encouraged. So people with those two themes, the people worked and came up with some pretty great submissions, I think, which you and I are going to go through.
Yeah, I've had a quick scan through. There's some impressive stuff here. It's good.
Yeah, for sure. So what we're gonna do, we're going to go to the topic, and we'll just go through all the pictures. And the top one, let's just jump right into it. I say the top one is submitted by Mother Theresia, and they are what looks like to be Eldar, Eldar jet bikers, the Shining Spears, I think.
Shining Spears.
Yeah,
Shining Spears aspect.
So,
lots of white.
Yeah,
tricky to paint for some.
White is definitely a difficult.
It's quite hard to do white without losing contrast. So a lot of time white looks very flat.
Yeah.
Or the shadows look too harsh. It's very difficult to get the balance right. But in this example, it's been done really quite well. Right, you can see a little bit of a fade here and there across the jet bike canopy.
Yeah.
The riders themselves are well defined. You've got the recesses hit for them, so everything there looks pretty good. This is overall a solid effort at white. I'm happy with this.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty smooth as well. Sometimes new painters will struggle with white and might tend out to be a little chalky or thick, but I think he managed to get a smooth finish for this one. Yeah, very nice. So he submitted a couple of pictures. Here's one from the side a little bit. He's made some nice bases as well. Custom bases. I think I recognize those from Cyborg Miniatures, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say they look like some Cyborg ones that I've seen. Yeah. Resin bases are a great way to add detail to your miniatures, though. Don't be afraid to use things like that.
Yep. I use them regularly as well. They're very easy because they already come like that, right? And you can paint them up nicely and add some details to with tufts or what have you. And then you've got some really nice bases, very quick and looks very good. Definitely definitely a cool investment. So he posted a lot of pictures, by the way. Here's one from the side of one of the jet bikers.
So I'm looking at that one now.
Yeah.
And this is the first one that I've sort of picked up and gone, okay, there's a few things that are starting to come through that could be polished a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you look at the guy's arm, the arm that's holding the lance, the shadows there are very thick. You've got something now that doesn't look natural. It's very forced. So when you're painting something like this, you want to make sure that those shadows are very, very thin. So just use the surface area of like the musculature of the arm and just sort of push those recesses right back in so that a very thin line around them. You'll get a much more natural finish to it. So something to be aware of for next time.
Yeah, that's something I noticed. So now you've got these really thick recesses, and they could be a little thinner. Yeah, I agree. Is there anything else that comes to mind when you look at the for some feedback or something that you actually like?
I like quite a lot of it, to be honest. Like I said, the white overall has been really well done, and that's the bulk of these miniatures. So you've nailed the main aspect, no pun intended, of these guys. Something else that I'd like to feedback though is on a photo a little further down, the one of Jetbike facing the other way this time.
Yes,
you can see some evidence of coffee staining. Coffee staining is where you are applying a wash and you're applying it over an entire surface.
Yeah.
Sometimes you leave it to pool a little bit too much in places. Sometimes that's not where you need it to be as well. So just make sure you go back and pick those bits up. You can see at the back of the sort of jet thrusters here, there's a few areas where the wash is kind of still blown out around the surface there. All you've got to do while you're doing your wash is just pay attention to the bit you've already washed whilst you're washing the next bit. Make sure you just clean your brush a little bit, pick up any excess wash there, and you can use that on another part of the model. So it helps you save your paint as well.
Yep, that's a very good tip. I had that back in the day in the beginning a lot.
I think we've all been there, man. It's one of those things that you don't know about until somebody says, by the way.
Yeah.
And then you know.
Yeah. Because when you first, experience the power of the wash, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna slap it on everything. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. And then we come to our second submission, which is from Lentis. Lentis is a regular as well, by the way. So is Mother Theresia. Lentis is one of those folks who can really paint well, and he uses a lot of oil paints. And this time he submitted a crack nose, which he converted up. So I'm just gonna click on the first picture here. It looks amazing to me because immediately it's one of those things. He's very good at painting models and in such a way that they really immediately jump at you. And then, but this conversion as well is pretty cool. Now I think the head is actually that's a good question. It's a Chaos is it a Chimera? No, a Chaos.
Yes, it could be. It could be. I've been trying to work it out, and it was some sort of weird mythical beast style from like the old fantasy range, perhaps. But that could very well be it, the Chimera.
Because I have a Manticore. That's it. Yes, I am sure.
Okay.
Yeah, a Manticore. Because I actually upstairs in my attic, I have a Chaos Sorcerer on Manticore, so I recognize that.
Nice.
He did add a longer, like the unicorn horn. It's kind of a bit of a unicorn theme with the hair.
Yeah, the feet and the hair as well, all kind of look very much like horse rather than anything else. So good choice.
So yeah, if any time there were to be a unicorn converted to chaos, this is what it would look like. It's a very evil.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Definitely. So for me, this jumps out, and like you said, he can paint in a way where he grabs your attention, commands your attention, and anytime you paint anything for a painting competition, that's what you're looking to do. You're to make the judge look at your work, not somebody else's work. And there's several ways that he's done this. Firstly, he's got amazing use of color. There's color all over this, but it doesn't look too busy. And the way he's managed to control that and harness the power of those colors is by putting a very bright canvas underneath them. Yes. So you look at the bottom of the miniature, you've got this nice just off-white color for the sort of skin overall the miniature. As you go up past the waist, that gets tinted a little bit more green before it goes into the face.
Yes.
That means that all of the areas, those little like shields, the icons, the sigils, whatever you want to call them, all of those have got all that color to them.
Yes.
Stand out, but they don't detract from a miniature. It's very, very well balanced. Sometimes if you throw all the colors in the world at a miniature, it looks very confused. You can't really see what's going on. But this artist has made sure that everything is nicely controlled while still being very bright and very colorful.
Yeah, it's impressive. What I like is that sort of the colors in the main, he sort of said like, look, this is going to be my color palette. These are the colors I'm going to use, because those colors you can see returning in all sorts of bits and pieces over the entirety of the model. right? The orange is in the sigils, like you said. The blues and the greens are in the skin, and also the sigils in there in the weapon. The yellow comes back certain places as well. So it harmonizes, even though
big time.
even though they stand out from each other, they harmonize at the same time. It's pretty got a very commanding knowledge of color theory. And
great use of palette as well. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
I'm looking at the one from the side here as well. I mean, the model itself it comes like that. Poses.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very great. So the
base has been redone though, right?
Yes.
I remember the original guy stood on something, but it definitely isn't as well sculpted as this. It looks like a lot of natural fibers that have been used for this.
Yes.
Some ferns that have been clearly like made.
Yep.
This is absolutely next level basing work. Well done.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's actual twigs and stuff in there as well.
That's the best thing to use is things like roots. Make sure they're dried out. You can use your oven, but just chuck them on your mum's baking sheet, whatever you do, or she'll probably be annoyed. Dry everything out, and then off you go.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And then there's the shield as well. He took a picture close up, so that's an amazing freehand which I really love.
Very cool freehand.
So it's a freehand of the orc.
That's right.
Of the orc god, or Gork, or possibly Mork.
It's super stylized for me. Like it's very rough brush strokes, but that doesn't detract from it, because when you're doing a freehand, especially something like this, which could easily be a portrait that somebody in universe has painted, they may not have access to like proper brushes and things, especially in the chaos wastes. And so having something that's got a bit of a rough texture to it, that is a departure from the rest of the miniature, isn't necessarily a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you've got the mouth that's open wide, framed by the shield. That little sort of central, I don't even know what the name of that is, like stud, I guess would be.
It's a stud, I guess,
Really does frame this very well and brings everything back. The warm colors you get from the bronzes and the non-metallic metal that's been going on here, before you get the very cold ice blue coming through. Massive contrast, and I love it.
Like the cracks he put in there as well, because you can see the on the bottom of the shield there's the mountains that are cracked a little bit as well. So I like that he took that little theme and ran it around his freehand as well. So lots of detail, very well done. Lore-wise, it's cool because he's kind of allied with Iron Jaws, and so he's kind of allied with the Orc God as well. So it ties in a little bit lore-wise as well. Bonus to me. Here I'm looking at a close-up of the base now. That's 2 pictures down from the shield, and you can actually see there's actually a little grot down there as well, doing his little thing.
He's very cool looking. Very nice, bright bit of blue on the base as well. The base obviously is very natural and very neutral colors. Lots of browns, lots of greens, a little bit of yellow, and so on. And it's got to be, because otherwise the rest of the miniature wouldn't stand out so much from it.
Yeah.
But you don't want to ever submit something that doesn't have the little bright spots of color in it somewhere, something to draw the eye, to keep people interested.
Yeah.
So having those little ferns that are very bright green, those little ivy leaves and so on, and having this little guy who's a kind of a bright turquoise blue really helps break up what could be a base that is, whilst very well done, kind of forgettable in comparison to the rest of the miniature.
Yeah, so it's not as fantastical because it's just it's just force. It's very well done, but it's it's there's nothing super magical going on in the base. So
absolutely
putting in this this little grot here, following Cracknell's along on his journey is amazing.
I like the little bits of water effect he's put in as well, because it just gives the feeling of a slightly wet, slightly muddy ground. And it'd be very, very easy to just flood the base with that sort of stuff. So it's a good show of restraint from the painter.
Yeah. So there's bits of wet pieces, wet spots here and there. Different colors, mud, brown, moss. This could have very well been a real piece of nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great way to do stuff like this is by using natural materials. Make sure you've got some reference material as well. Yeah. Go for a walk, look up some pictures, use that as an influence for what you're about to do, and just roll with it.
Yeah. Amazing. I could look at this picture for hours, but alas.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. We have to move on. We've got more great entries as far as I'm concerned. Here we've got Wu Tangland 04, who's submitted a trio of Space Marine Outriders in a very grimy theme, which I really like.
I love this color scheme. This is super, super cool. Like the sort of light tan is something that you don't see very often. The chains wrapped around the bike are a really, really nice touch. The skulls that you've got on there give a kind of tribalistic feel to what's going on here. Yeah. And it really adds to the mood of things. So I'm a big fan of this chapter of Space Marines.
Yeah, it's not super bright and pow in your face like some of the chapters are. It's I imagine this is what, if there were actually Space Marines, their armor would probably more look like this. It's a bit more realistic, right? Because you can imagine these guys just riding around on like Dune, like a desert planet or a dune planet or what have you, to
100%.
To kind of blend in with the environment and stuff. Also like the little conversions that he's done with the chains. He's also made, this picture doesn't really show it very well. Let me see if I'm looking at the picture, one beneath it. Put like a sort of metal grid on the underside.
On it.
Yeah, a grating. Then it's being kept together by chains. There's skulls adorning it as well. So these are pretty. They're like beast hunters, feral. I don't know. It's pretty cool.
They do look really cool. I don't know why, but for me, this has kind of got an almost Western cowboys and Indians sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
I think it's to do with the colors. I think it's to do with the animal skulls and so on. I love the battle damage you've put on there. You put some care and effort and attention into it. Look at all of the highlights that surround the battle damage to help give it that 3D effect.
Yes.
It's all painted on just the surface, but it looks like it's gone through. I'd like to have seen a little bit more sort of environmental weathering. You can see some of it on the underside of the bike.
Yeah.
But the tires, which are obviously in contact with the earth, I think could have had a little bit more done to them. It's not bad what you've done, but I think you could have gone just a little bit further with it.
Yeah. Maybe he went on presumption less is more. So
unfortunately, in the third picture, there is a pretty whopping mold line down the front of that tire as well.
Oh yeah.
Which is just one of those things. There's never a point where it's too late to take a mold line off a model. I'm just gonna get that out of my system now. It doesn't matter if you're halfway through painting it or you finish painting it, you've just seen it. Doesn't matter if it's a competition entry. You've just got to bite the bullet and go, all right, cool, here's my modeling knife. Let's just scrape that away, reprime that area, repaint that area, and off you go.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I don't think it's because of the two tires, they're two halves and they stick together and they don't exactly fit. But still, then you can file it down. Yeah, definitely.
There's ways, right?
Yeah. Because this is the first thing.
I appreciate what you're saying, brother.
This is a shame though. So for next time, definitely. Maybe like you said, he saw it at the end and was like, "Oh God, well, screw it."
I've just spotted something I really, really like though. On the Space Marines that have the helmet, there's a little bit of freehand just over one of the eyes. I really like that. I think that's a really nice touch. And it's so often that people tend to paint things in just a plain way. So I'm going to paint my Space Marines blue. So all the armor is blue, for instance. And there's no thought past that. But just adding in little things like that are really, really sick. It's a small detail to add, but it makes a massive amount of difference. So well done for doing that, dude.
Yep, it's a little scar. Scar, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it just looked cool.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. We're going back to fantasy.
We're going back in the past.
This one. I mean, this is pretty far.
This was a metal miniature, right? Just want to be sure.
They were metal to begin with, and then I think so. The horses. So it's a combination of things because I used to play high elves as well. So the chariot part. Hold on. Front. So the chariot part probably is metal because that's a very old one. The high elf character that's on there is definitely metal. I have him as well.
You can tell because the spear is about this wide at the blade edge.
Yes. And then the horses, those are actually, where horses
Are
from
they
the
plastic bodies with
no, they're
metal heads?
they're the Age of Sigma range Lumineth Realm Lord horses.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
No, this takes me well back. So I started in the hobby in the very early 90s, where everything was painted in extremely in-your-face colors. Lots of yellow, lots of blue, because they stood out from each other very well. And this is a proper nostalgia moment for me.
Yeah, it's great.
So, overall, love the paint choices. There's a very stylized sort of style of painting here. I'm pretty sure I just said that word twice in the same sentence, but
that's okay.
The highlights that you've got on things. Look at on the first picture, the horse's neck. You've got the highlights that lead into the shadow set. Lots of little lines.
Yes, yeah.
And then further down the horse, when you look at the metal over the horse's like rump, you've got the same, those little lines leading in. So artist definitely has a style of their painting that's consistent throughout their work.
Yep.
I like seeing that.
Yeah, it's a great way. Like stippling and drawing little lines is a great way to actually add texture to flat surfaces where on the model itself the casting doesn't have any texture. I think that's
exactly right.
So that's always a great way. I use that a lot as well, especially on fur. It works well, right? Because the on the neck of the horse, like the model casting, it's a smooth surface, it's neck. But now with he's using a little bit of stripes, and it looks actually more like fur.
Yeah.
So that's definitely nice way. I mean, I think he has a nice. He can blend pretty well. Like on the flag, he's got a nice freehand there as well.
The freehand's really nice, very crisp.
Yes.
It's easy to do a freehand on a flat surface. When you start getting little bits of wavy sort of motions in when it's on cloth or similar, it was a little bit harder making sure your lines are neat and straight. Your brush hasn't bent slightly when it's touched that part in a miniature. Yeah. So really well done with that.
Yeah. If you look at the last of the pictures, he also repeated freehand the cloak as well. Which I always have to give props to people who put freehands like on cloaks, because if the cloaks are wavy, it's quite difficult to get those freehands in proportion and right looking. Because often when I do it, because of the waving of the cloak, it tends to look a little crooked or just not right. So it's quite tricky actually.
It's difficult.
Yeah,
try because you can look at it and imagine your freehand, but then you have to imagine it over that different surface to get the lines right, and that's where the hard part comes in. Slightly let down that there is now 2 mold lines, one on each wheel. So apparently wheels are definitely the Achilles heel of the mini paint community.
Achilles wheel, if you will. And thanks. I was going to say it as well. It's like I think I spotted another wheel mold line here. But overall, it's a great mod. I think he did he put some little effort into the base as well. So back in the day when you based your models, especially in the fantasy days, it was just, for me, it was like just green flock and that was it, or green grass, right?
Yeah, so, green. It was modeled as flock rather than like static grass. It was like these little lumps of dried sawdust.
Yeah.
You then dry brush yellow.
Yeah.
And you paint your bases with goblin green rims. And I can think of nothing more horrible than goblin green base rims.
Even though it looks horrible, I love it because it just has that nostalgia feel. It's like, yes.
Everyone says that, but for God's sake, just paint it black, please.
Yeah. So he did do the goblin green rims, but he also put a little more effort into the base, like the
definitely
the grid, and then he put some tufts and little flowers and things. So it looks aesthetically. So great,
solid.
Yeah, great.
Very well done.
Yeah. Moving over to Ben S's submission of. I don't know what this model is. Yeah, well, it's a Necron. Yeah.
This looks epic. So from what I can work out, and I've been trying to get this right, so forgive me, Ben, if I've got this wrong. This is one of the Necron, the terrain pieces, the pylon pieces.
Yes.
And what looks like several boxes of wraiths.
Yeah, it reminds me. So there's this Forge World model. I don't think this actually is, but an Acanthite.
I want to say
an
it's
Acanthite.
Acanthite, yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a Tomb Sentinel, isn't it? The long centipede one's a Tomb Sentinel.
Yeah, the centipede one, but I don't think this is that model. I think, or
no,
maybe
I think it's just been converted.
Yeah, out of multiple rates.
Or maybe spiders. Could be Tomb Spiders as well, because some of the claw bits about halfway up look a little bit more like they've come from that kit. But either way, this is a lot of plastic.
Yep.
And this is an epic thing. Just the posing of this must have taken a while. So well done to you, dude. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it's been very well. He coils around the piece of scenery and then upwards. He looks very happy to me as well. It's like maybe it's his birthday or something. but but it looks great. So, but he's actually poised to strike, of course. About to
100%. Either that or a mating ritual.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. And on the closer picture, you can actually see the torso of its most upper part, where there's two orbs, chest. I'm not so sure where this is coming from. This because I don't recognize.
I know what they look like, and it looks a little bit like some of the Necron like engine components that you get. This looks a little bit like it's on a smaller scale, but the ones you get on Silent King. So I'm thinking maybe this has come off of something like a command barge or similar.
Yeah.
Maybe a Ghost Ark. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. So Ben S.
No, I know exactly what that is. Oh God, that's just taking me a minute. That is the sides of the Canoptech Reanimator, but turned 90 degrees and put in one next to each other rather than being out sideways.
All right.
Because that's the head from it as well, I think.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not too familiar with the new models from the Necrons, but you know what, Ben S. When you're watching this, mate, in the comments in the YouTube section comments, just let us know all the parts.
Yeah, I'd love a parts list for this because I might want to make one.
Listen, so cool. But what do you think about the paint job, though?
So it's simple, and it's effective. The difference between this paint job and let's say the Kernoth paint job we saw though is on this you have the same colors all the way throughout the miniature. But we have it on both the base, the background the photo's been taken on, and the mini itself. And it doesn't really attract the eye to any one point. Because you've got just masses and masses of green, which is a great color, and it's been done fairly well. You don't have any single point that draws your eye.
Yeah.
So what I would maybe have done is take some of those colors away from maybe the base, or emphasize more on your upper body. So you've got these like green dots that go down the miniature.
Yeah.
Maybe have some of those a little darker below, brighter above to help draw your eye up there. So that's just like an overarching, almost like meta kind of decision to make here. The paint job itself, though, is really well done. You've got a lot of metal there, which looks fairly decent. You know, there could be a few more edge highlights there. The green, the blends for it aren't too bad. They could be a little smoother, but what you've got is good. It is eye-catching.
Yep, I agree.
I can't really fault it. It's just I'd have made a few different decisions to help your audience focus in on one aspect and then really, really go to town on that one aspect so that it really stands out and snaps that attention.
Yeah. I think that's a very good tip you just gave. It's well painted. I like the blending as well. It's hand blended, so it's not airbrushed or anything. So he blended it with touch. But it's a lot of green. So yeah. So probably for me, I would have done the base, probably the generator thingy, maybe like a purple or
purple, or orange, red. And all of these things work quite well.
Yeah, and so to help. Because now you're looking at everything at the same time, so you're not quite sure where you should focus on.
That's right.
And if you
equally, I probably wouldn't have taken a photograph of the miniature stood on another surface which also had the same colors in, because that early picture we've got, the green kind of spreads out across the surface, and it draws your eye more down towards the bottom because it's more prevalent there. You've got big patches of it. it's a weird thing to say, I appreciate, but when you're doing any kind of painting competition where a photograph is going to be what is used to look at your miniature rather than your miniature itself, the composition of that photograph is extremely important because the judge is going to get maybe one shot to look at your miniature and decide whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
You have to be 100% with a photo as well.
Yeah.
It's tough though. Not all of us are natural photographers. I certainly am not. In fact, Ben even says like photography skills are not my best, so I just try and make some better ones.
Yeah. So taking pictures. So if you're just painting your armies to play with them, not really focused on the hobby aspect. But if you're going into painting competition, submit pictures, then it's definitely it's a different art. So there's something to look into, and there's lots of information actually by miniature painters that enter competition that also give some great advice on how to use photography to get the most out of your model. Because actually that can make and break you taking first place or not.
100%. Something that I'll give away for free to anyone that's listening. I used to take photos on my cell phone before we invested in good cameras and things, obviously. And what you can do is something called focus stacking. So you put a camera on a tripod or balance it on a book or whatever. Take a photo and then you tweak the focus. You take another photo and tweak the focus and take another photo. You do like 4 or 5 of those. You can upload all of those images to like an online site where it will stack every photo on top of each other. And it will take all the bits that are in focus from each one and it will put them into like a composite image. So if you've got something that's like holding a sword out to the camera, you really get from the tip of the sword all in focus down his arm to him to his cloak or whatever. Everything will be nicely sharp and in focus. And that's the sort of thing you want to do, especially when you're doing something like this. It just really helps to ensure that your judge, the audience, people looking at your work can see everything clearly and in focus. And that's super important.
That's an excellent piece of advice, right? Didn't even know that existed. So
these days
try that
I
out
do
myself.
Photoshop because I have to pay for Photoshop.
Yeah. Oh, so Photoshop can do it as well then.
Yeah. It can even do image alignments. If you don't have a tripod, you're just taking a load of photos. It will just take your images and go, right, this one needs to be twisted, and this one needs to be smooth, and this one needs to go down, and so it'll put all those together, and then you can just stack the images and.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't technology wonderful?
I'm gonna look into that. That sounds really interesting. Thank you.
No worries.
All right, we're moving on to
Troll time.
Yeah, troll time. Trollolol. It's Wargaming with his it's a Trogoth hero.
Cool.
I don't know what he's actually called.
I have no idea. I don't really do Sigma, but Trog Boss that will do just fine.
Yeah, so this is it's actually called a Truck Boss. So this is from the Gloomspite Gits range, where you got a bunch of goblins, and you can also field an entire Trog army if you want. Nice. This is one of its heroes. So what do you think?
Overall, it's not bad. You've got a strong color, which you've used throughout the entirety of the piece. You've then added some good complementary and contrasting colors to that. So you've got yellow next to your purple, which helps to separate everything. You've then got red to help keep everything kind of together, but you've got the yellow separating those two. So that's quite nice to see. Overall, I think some of your blends could be a little bit neater. So maybe thin the paint just a touch more, take a little bit longer time to do it. Yeah. You see some of the areas on the troll, you've got super dark right next to something that's super bright, but there'd normally be a slightly longer transition between the two based on natural light and stuff. But that's just one of those things that takes time and, it takes a lot of practice to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I like your use of colors though. Like having things like the veining on the arm, blue to help those veins stand out from the rest of the miniature. Yeah. Really, really good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I always like those details. Makes the skin look more alive. You can very clearly see on its belly that he's trying to either blend or he's using multiple layers and glazing one over the other. So you can see that he's trying to utilize those techniques.
100%.
And I think you can also see that he's trying to use points of light as a reference, because some parts of the belly right beneath the head are darker. and then the sides of the belly that are more exposed to the light, if you will, that he's brightened them up. So I think he's trying to incorporate, points of light.
Absolutely. Highlights are definitely in the right place. You've got shadow on the leg, that's the trailing leg as well. It definitely understands the subject, understands what to do. Execution just needs a little bit more polish, that's all.
Yep.
Doing well, keep doing what you're doing, you will get there.
Yep.
One thing that I'd like to see a little bit more of, though, and this could be the photo. The photo does look a little bit overexposed, and that means that essentially there's too much light hitting the sensor. The barnacles that the trolls have got, you've got some on the back, the shoulders, a little bit on the arm. There's not a lot of definition there. Now, if that is just a photo being overexposed, that's something that you can maybe tweak the settings on your camera, on your phone, whatever it is you take the photograph to ensure that all comes through. But it might be that you needed to add a little bit more contrast to them. And in this situation, what we're talking about is having some contrast, so a darker color around each one of the barnacles, which would help each one of them stand out from the rest. So rather than having just a massive, like on the arm, a kind of very sickly blue-green or a sort of yellow hue around the shoulders and so on, each one would individually start to be brought up so you can see all of the detail that's there. As an artist painting a miniature, it's your job to enhance all of the detail so that your audience can see the hard work you've put in.
Yep.
Sometimes on minis, you've got to manufacture that detail. You've got to think, well, this is where the armor trim should be on a Corn Berserker that's instead of Jelly Baby. Or you've got to add in things like freehand or scars or something to help bring all that through.
Yep.
It's important that detail is there, because that's essentially what you're going to get judged on is showcasing the full entirety of the model.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, excellent tip. Yeah, because the barnacles do look like they're one big blob of stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's very likely the photo. Something to know for next time.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to one of your disciples, Cadian Ranger.
Look, I know everyone jokes about the cult of meat, but if you start calling people disciples, it'll become a real thing.
So we've got Cadian Ranger. He's a good friend of ours. Actually, shout out to the guy because he's going to do a tournament in the upcoming months at the end of the year over in Germany. He's going to be also at the Hanseatic Alliance. I hope he's going to help us out in the team. So it's always a pleasure to work with him. Very nice guy. Very dedicated to the hobby, and has some brush skills to boot. Because
he's not bad. No, Dan is a great guy. He's got something that's decent here as well. I like this. For starters, he's included hazard stripes, which clearly are one of my favorite things ever in the world. Yeah. Anyway, so little bias straight away.
It just looks nice. There's something about it, the black and the yellow, and then there's a nice blend going from a darker yellow to a brighter yellow. There's something about it that just is always nice.
He should be able to do hazard stripes quite well because we covered that in one of our lessons. So I'd be really annoyed if he'd screwed it up here.
Yeah. So this is I think it's a captain.
We'll go with that.
On a bike. I like the conversion of the weapon. So this is not just your stand of the run of the mill chainsword. It's actually like a chain pole axe or something.
Yeah, I'd say like chain glaive, something like that. Looks a little bit like something that maybe a Karsharodon would use, so the Space Sharks or similar.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's for his Blood Angels army that he's working on. We've seen in the previous competition, we've seen his Sanguinary Guard, which were done very well. And this one is no exception. It's so you can be a little more harsh on him since he's...
Well, I'm going to because he's one of my students, and so I expect you to be on the money with things here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say some of the blends on the red aren't really where I'd like them to be. You've got the colors in the right places, that's fine, but some of it is a little bit more stop-start than anything else. If you look at the fairing around the handlebars, there's some blends that very much go from absolute dark to suddenly here's my red orange coming through. So I'd like you to take in a little bit more time, glaze those transitions through a little bit more, and thin your paint to get those glazes coming through to just build that across. That's one thing. The non-metallic metal you've done is pretty good. I can't really fault that so much on the bolters. You've got different styles of it as well, which is good to see.
Yep.
But one thing that I'm a little disappointed about is if you look at the back end of the bike, you've got the exhaust there. They look reflective. That looks spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that hasn't transitioned through to the front wheel where it looks like it's just been base coated and left unfinished. You've got loads of areas that it would catch the light. If you think about any metal disc that's got a load of holes punched in it, all of those will catch the light. The surface of metal has been deformed. It's got extra edges there. Yeah. All of that needed to have been highlighted, and it just looks like it's been unfinished. Unfortunately, right next to it is the front fork that holds the wheel, and there's areas there that I would assume would have been highlighted red a little bit more than they have as well. So it looks a little bit like maybe it was either, I would say, forgotten about, but sort of disregarded as an area that needed highlight. The problem with doing that, though, is when you look at a miniature, especially in the main picture of the 4 that we've got here, you're looking at the miniature from the perspective of the front to the back.
Yeah.
And your eye will travel along that path naturally. And if you start off with something that you're presenting right in front of your audience that doesn't feel finished, it's going to tarnish the rest of it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. So, unfortunate, mate. I'd have liked to have seen a little bit more done there, a little bit more care. You could have put some weathering on if you wanted to disguise it, whatever you wanted to do, but certainly that needed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, it's fair criticism. I mean, for me, the one thing that I would say is, what was I looking at? Oh yeah, the lens. So he's got a little lens on the left bolter.
Yeah.
And he's done a little OSL.
Yes.
And for me, it's always a thing where the OSL part is brighter than the light source itself.
Yeah, that's a no-no. I've done a couple of videos on that. Think about it, guys. When you turn on a torch or a flashlight or light a candle, the thing that's generating the light is brighter than all of its surroundings.
Yeah.
It has to be. That's where it's coming from. And you're absolutely right. The highlight on the like the top rail of the bolt gun specifically is very bright. It might be the angle that we're looking at. You can't see the rest of the lens, perhaps. But if the lens itself isn't at least as bright, and it should be brighter than that, then it isn't the effective light. It's I've painted some green.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
So that was for me the part, and then I always have a pet peeve about bolters not having holes drilled into them. That's a pet peeve of mine, because in my mind, the moment they fire, they explode.
Sure. Well, actually, what they do is they fire sideways to the two holes there. And that's why one of them's got 2 holes on the other side. One of them's inoperable, and it just fires straight through the other bolt gun.
Yeah, exactly. He just spins around and he murders everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying with that. And the easiest way of doing that, guys, isn't with a drill. You don't need to buy hobby drills. Just take a craft knife and very carefully sort of insert it in and just twist that a little. Yeah. You'll bore a hole. It's quicker. It's easy to control. Be careful. Don't stab yourself in the hand, for Christ's sake. Yeah. I can tell you now, a craft knife to the finger hurts a lot less than a drill to the finger. I've been there.
Wow. That sounds painful.
Yeah. There was some swear words at that one.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Difficultist. He's also got a biter.
Different bike.
Yeah. So we've got a bike off here between these two.
Yeah.
It's also
this is sick.
Yeah, this is a KOC one. Obviously, we can see the Kale star clearly on his power fist.
Yeah.
It's a shame we only have the one picture. Would have loved to have different angles. So Difficultist,
same here,
and other people as well who've only submitted 1 or 2 pictures. Take some more pictures from every angle so we can actually get a good look at every part of the model, unless there's something you're trying to hide.
You've put the hard work in, unless the only thing you've painted is this mini from one angle, which is quite impressive by itself. I want to see the rest of it, because there's some pretty awesome non-metallic metal going on here. The bit you've got around the front fairing there, which looks to me like it's an upside down Defiler's power claw shroud.
Yeah, could be.
The NMM there isn't bad, but you've got something with loads of edges, loads of reflections, and it's a very difficult thing to get to look right. Unfortunately, when we see a miniature in a photograph, it's usually much larger than actual size.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see this from actual size. I imagine that the front part would look spot on. Up close like this, it looks a little bit wrong. But the exhausts look sick. So look at all of the little holes, the dents in there. Look at the way that the artist has made the reflection seamlessly flow around those, join across them. This is kind of what I was expecting to see in that previous photo around the wheel.
Yeah.
Love what you've done here with that. Your freehand at the front. The skull, I'm not going to lie, I find skulls particularly tricky to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. They just come out looking like an extra from the Moomins or something, but it needs a little bit more. It's a little bit. Here's the thing: if you take the head, the miniature's face itself, look at the level of detail there, cracked skin, highlights.
Yeah.
Just like a darker red around the eyes where it looks irritated and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look at the skull, and you've got this kind of face mask thing where it's all one color, and that detracts from it for me. It's a shame because what you've clearly got some really, really good painting skills.
Yep.
Yeah, I love what you've done with this miniature, but that's front and center again, and it draws the eye for the wrong reason. A little bit like the gap between the two halves of the wheel that's just below it. Again, it's right at the front of the miniature. You're putting that right on display. You've taken one photo, and that's right there at the front. You need to be sure that everything there is absolutely perfect.
Yep.
Fill that in, get some sprue goo, green stuff, Milliput, plastic putty, just file the crap out of it, whatever you want to do it, but got to get that filled in.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Shame.
It's a shame because there's definitely a lot of work going in.
Yeah.
What I would personally probably say is so because the black plate of of the front shield thing is such a big part of the model, I would have highlighted the black plate, the edges. There are clearly some edges there. I would have highlighted them a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's okay that it's dark because if you went too bright, it's going to start to come in where the non-metallic metal is. But there's a little bit more room to add that. Get some cracks going through, then you can have some of the flames that you've painted in the background of that image coming up through those as well.
Yeah.
Add some layers and some depth and some complexity to it. Yeah. But what you've done is really good. Don't take any of this the wrong way, brother.
Nope. No,
I'd be happy if I painted this. It's just
that's a great.
It's
model.
my job right now to sort of pick out where the differences are between like the different entries and ensure that we have somebody that gets the vote for the winner and so on.
Yep. No, that's
I love what you've done. There's some good conversion work here. There's some good freehand work here.
Yep.
It's one thing that I think you might want to consider. This is something that most hobbyists I don't think consider at all. You paint your mini and you're happy with it. You're fine. You're good to go. Every time you apply paint to a miniature, you're applying something that has a finish to it. What that means is when it's dry, it will either be non-reflective and very matte, or it will be reflective and very glossy, or somewhere in between the two. The only reason I bring this up is you've used paint that's given you a very satin finish, which means you've likely used a lot of GW paints, which are ever so slightly more reflective than something like, say, Scale 75 or Pro Acryl, which are very, very matte. It might have been an idea to give your miniature a matte varnish at some point. Because if you look at the power claw where it's reaching forward, your recesses, because of the black or the dark reds or whatever that you've used, they're slightly reflective.
Yes.
More so than the red that's at the front of it. Now, obviously, if you think about it from a perspective of real life and the way light works, that wouldn't be the case. When we paint something, we're presenting an optical illusion to our audience, which is that the light is hitting the miniature and this lighter part at the front is where it's hitting, not this darker part at the back. So it might be an idea to use something like a matte varnish. There's loads of good ones out there. Personally, I use Testa's Dull Coat, which I know you can't buy anymore. There's a Rust-Oleum version that you might be able to get hold of. And there's some Vallejo and AK products that come highly recommended. just to ensure that your finish is nice and uniform, and the highlights, the work that you've done on the miniature, is what is showcased the most. And this matters even more when it's a photography submission, because obviously photography works through light, capturing light. You need to be absolutely sure that what you have done is what we see, and not an unintended consequence, perhaps, of the paint that you've used. Hope that all makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. This is a satin varnish, varnish that a lot of people use because it's also on a lot of parts it's quite nice if it has a minimal reflection, shiny. But definitely when you're trying to portray shadows and stuff like that, said it.
Exactly. On minis on the tabletop, it looks great. It's one of those things. But I'd be very surprised if you pointed out a large scale competition winner that had a satin or gloss finish to their miniature at all.
Yeah.
You want to say, here's the highlight. I put this highlight in this place specifically. That's it. Not because we're in a room with like strip lights. It's got all these highlights now.
Yep. For sure. So wow, I've got a frog in my throat. Right.
Well, speaking of amphibious creatures, I mean, the next one is basically a dinosaur, which I really love.
Yeah.
But this isn't a GW mini, is that right? Or is it?
No, I don't believe so. The actual big dinosaur itself. No, that's not a GW mini.
Right. Okay. I don't know much about the lizard man range, but I'm reasonably sure I've never seen a 6-limbed dinosaur out of GW. And I can't remember anything with this kind of head on it either. So whether you've converted it, whether you've bought it from a shop or whatever, I really don't mind because I do love it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it looks really good. He did put a part of the one of the Games Workshop the thing with where the snakes are coming out on its back. That is Games Workshop, so he put that on. So it's a bit of a conversion. Also, the plate on its chest. It's from a Bastillodon miniature, I believe. So Bastillodon can put that on its back as well. And then he's got the 2 skinks, of course, as well, which are games.
100%.
And he made it very.
I absolutely love this thing. This is brilliant.
Yeah, it looks very good. So painting wise, what would you say? What's your critique?
So you can see evidence of color throughout every part of the dinosaur. You've got a darker, almost sort of purpley blue kind of hue underneath the skin that builds up to a teal. You've then got a nice transfer up to the top where you've got red and stuff going on through there. You've got red head, red back. It starts to break up the miniature really, really well.
Yep.
Big fan of that. To contrast those very vibrant colors, you've tempered it a little bit with the grays, that stone kind of effect. So you've got on the back there, you've got the staffs that the lizard men, the skinks are holding their clubs and so on. It starts to bring it back down a little bit, stop it from just jumping up out at you. And it helps to enhance the colors that you've put down on the miniature.
Mm-hmm.
So just the painting on the mini is great. We've got another example here of a base that's had a lot of work put into it. It looks like maybe you've used sort of plastic like fish tank plant or something on the base. I'm trying to work out roughly where that came from.
Yeah.
That's worked out okay. You've got some rocks, some foliage, some static grass. All these things are coming in, which is great. Big fan of that. So composition overall, it's solid.
Yep. Yeah, it looks very nice. A lot of attention again going into the base, which is often like a forgotten part of a miniature.
Yeah. But think about the base, especially the competition miniature, as the frame of a picture. Now, it might not sound like much, but if you just drew a picture and slapped it on the wall, it would look okay. But if you put it in a nice frame that helped really emphasize the picture that you've just drawn, then it starts to look sick. Your base is that frame. It sets the mood, it sets the tone, it helps set contrast, it sets boundaries for your mini.
Yeah.
It's really, really important.
I also just like the whole. This isn't just a model being a model. This is also a bit of a story going on. Like the little 2 skinks are actually guiding the bigger beast towards.
You do get that feeling. Yeah, it's like they're wranglers, which is amazing that we both end up with the same mood out of this. You've got a snapshot. It's like a little diorama. I think it's the guy with the the sword
he's,
sort of
he's
pointing out.
Yeah, he's pointing the beast on, bringing it back to its range or what have you. So yeah, I really like that. So you really have this tiny little story that's going on. Also gives me a little bit of the Star Wars vibe, by the way. The bigger dinosaur.
Oh, okay, yeah,
But
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah, but I really do like it. I like the red and the teal. It's like you said, it's a nice contrast. Very interesting. I like how he ran the red down towards the back of its tail.
Yeah.
And the more it goes down, the more transparent the red becomes, and it sort of fades away into the teal.
That's right.
What I really like. So
my only criticism with the painting here is it looks like you've leaned very, very heavily into dry brushing. And I'd like to have seen a few different painting techniques. So some glazing to help bring those transitions through a little bit. Just some traditional edge or volumetric highlighting done with a brush to help just polish things and give them a little bit of a softer tone. It's not too bad on the dinosaur itself because it's big and scaly. You'd expect to have some sort of texture there. Mm-hmm. But on the little guys like the skinks, the texture is almost the wrong scale. It works on stone and stuff, but for more organic creatures, I tend to prefer much more smooth, brushed volumes for it.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Very well done. Let's move on to the next, which is wasgoed, which is which translates into laundry. So that's his name. And he submitted.
Awesome.
Yes, and he submitted his dreadnought. It's a Space Wolf dreadnought.
It is a Space Wolf dreadnought.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip straight. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to skip. You know how earlier on I was talking about this thing called focus stacking?
Yeah.
So here's a perfect example of where just knowing about that would have really, really helped this submission. You've got the claw reaching out right to the camera, which is completely blurred out. You've got focus on one shoulder and the sort of, unfortunately, sort of large barreled belly that Redemptor Dreadnoughts have, and the plasma gun at the back is out of focus.
Mm-hmm.
If we'd taken 3 photos of these, focused on the claw, the body, then the gun, and then put the 3 together, you'd end up with one thing all in focus, and this shot would look epic as a consequence.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you would have everything in focus.
That's right.
Sometimes it's cool if you have a little part out of focus.
Yeah, the kind of bokeh, very artsy photo effect, where the background is blurred out and so on. But you want the subject to be like
in focus.
Crisp.
But let's take a look at the second picture, because there we can actually see everything in sharp detail. And tell us what you think.
So I really like what you've done here. The Redemptor kit itself, or in fact all of the new Marine Dreadnought kits, are super, super posable. And you've done a great job with the pose here. You've got him stood on the scenery. He looks like he belongs in the scenery and he's interacting with it correctly. Yeah. You've got dirt around his feet, snow around his feet. He really looks like he belongs. And I cannot stress enough how important that is. If you have something on a base that's clearly entirely separate from its environment, it causes a kind of a disassociation, a bit of a break. And you need to have that cohesive feeling to really embed everything together in a scene. So I love the fact you've done that. The armor is pitted, it's worn, it's battered, it's weathered, it's grimy. It's got all of those cool extra details going on to it through battle damage and so on to really make this guy look like a Space Wolf. And once again, we've got some nice 3D weathering taking place all over this miniature. So solid work there.
Yeah. Yeah, it really gives that feeling of depth, like the paint is being chipped off and the layers underneath are being revealed. Very nice. We also see like a little hint of his axe being strapped on its back.
That's right.
It would have been really cool if we had a picture of his backside as well. So again, guys, take pictures from multiple angles. If you have that axe there, which is really cool.
Sorry, mate. It's the next photo.
Is it?
Didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, wow.
I thought it'd just be a better thing to do. Sorry.
No, well, scratch that then. I said nothing. Here's the backside. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things. You've given this guy his own little story, his own little bit of personality. This is a dreadnought. And at heart, what that really is a fallen space marine interred in a sarcophagus and then sent out to war to essentially die again. giving this guy what was clearly some of his former
battle gear,
fighting style, you know, to take to war in this dreadnought body is fantastic. Love the fact you've put it there. And the fact you've got the chains that go around the shield make it look like all of that is chained to his back.
Yes.
It's very easy to just take some components and glue them to a miniature and go, oh, it's done. Yeah, it's mag locked to him.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right though, does it? So making sure you've done it in this way, the shield on top really works. It helps, and it's a very I would say low effort conversion, but it's a conversion where a lot of the work is done for you already by the sculpt. So very clever use.
It's in the kit, right? This particular piece, I think.
Well, these are in the Space Wolves Venerable Dreadnought kit rather than the Redemptor kit, and in fact, the claws on the fist have come from there as well.
Very cool. Yeah, the claw is very nice as well. Very Space Wolfy. So yeah, very cool. I really like it. Also, it's just very well done painting wise. I think very smooth.
Yeah, it's really solid.
Yep. Not the base is very nice. It's nice. You know, it's Space Wolves. It's snowy base, but it just looks very cool. Also with this one, I also get a little bit of a feeling of there's something going on here. As with the dinosaurs, it's something doing with the pose. He's also just like leading his forces on as well, I'm imagining. And
for me, sort of just readying himself, and he's using that Gatling cannon to just rinse through something that's not worthy of a shot from the macroplasma. Yeah,
exactly. You're not worth my my big gun. That's great. Yeah, he's lowered it.
Attitude.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, very cool model. Also, always for me, Space Wolves is always very cool army. I feel I get to say I feel the same way about Space Wolves as I do with Orcs. It's just very easy to make them just thematic and cool, because they have their own unique vibe to them. Within their models range, and they're Viking, so you can do an entire Viking. Makes it very cool to see on the tabletop, and indeed on miniatures competitions like this one.
Absolutely. There's an inherent story within the miniatures, and if you stay within that universe, it makes it very easy for the people looking at your miniature to really get involved with it and really sort of dive into the universe with you. So yeah, well done.
And look, that was the last one.
It was.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. Would have liked to see more of this.
Solid entries.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really feel like the people that are entering these competitions are growing as well. And I think that also has something to do with you just giving them great advice. Because every time you've had some advice.
Man, all I do is hand out a little bit of a critique. It's not me holding the brush. These guys deserve all the credit, 100%.
Yeah, that's true. But
they're smashing it.
Yeah, definitely. So Friday, I believe it's this Friday or the next Friday, we're going to have a vote. It's going to be vote for the people, all the people that have entered the competition. They can put in their vote on any of these entries, and we are going to announce a winner. And then the winner, of course, can decide what the next theme of the next competition is. But I've had a lot of fun with you once again this hour.
It's always good, man. Yeah. Always good.
Going through all these great models, checking them out, hanging out. I hope next time you'll be around here as well for the next round of miniatures.
Totally.
Yeah, and
totally.
For everybody watching this who wants to check out Jay's work, head on over to Mohawk Miniatures on his Twitch. He uploads all his stuff to YouTube as well. He has a Facebook. He has an Instagram. It's all Mohawk Miniatures. Is there anything you want to plug or anything you want to say? Got something cool coming up?
Come and check out YouTube. We upload weekly tutorials to YouTube. So rather than it being just the VOD of the stream going up, now it's a very much more edited, refined tutorial. We've done a couple recently have been extremely well received. One of them is a guide on how to thin your paint properly, because everyone gets told when you start the hobby, thin your paint, and no one tells you how. And occasionally someone tells you to thin it like milk, and we disprove that in this video. by actually painting with milk.
With milk?
With milk.
And
so you have to watch that one to find out how that went. Sure.
But as a diluter or something?
No. Literally milk.
Okay. So that's
on a mini.
So that's one of the videos on your YouTube channel right now.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Look, I'm going to check that out myself in a minute. You've got my interest. You, sir, have my attention. So that's so that's youtube.com. Mohawk Miniatures is the name of your channel.
You got it.
Definitely check it out. Great tutorials, as you said. More edited tutorials on specific subjects. So that's more the goal of your YouTube channel. And then you've got your Twitch, which is our hangouts where you paint.
Absolutely.
You've got great giveaways once every now and again. Great community.
Every month. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're just getting the Patreon guys to vote on what goes in the next giveaway, actually.
Yes. So definitely, guys, check out that. Thanks for coming, Jay. And
always a pleasure.
To everybody at home, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Stay home, stay safe, but above all, stay wargaming. Stay painting. Paint your miniatures.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Get through that hobby backlog.
All right.
Peace out, folks.
Peace out. Bye-bye.